Hi, Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I am standing with the terrific Nina Yocom in front of one of her two pieces, which will be in our It Is Written show that goes from now through October 29th, with a special preview during the Collingswood Fine Arts and Crafts Festival on the 19th and 20th of August. Nina, would you mind introducing us to your piece?
Great, thank you. So this piece is called Bedtime. And the reason why I called it Bedtime is it's kind of a dreamscape. It's a little bit of a getaway. The piece is alcohol ink on paper. And if you're not familiar with alcohol ink, they're very vibrant colors. They're based on isopropyl alcohol. They've got a nice flow when they work on synthetic paper and non-porous surfaces. So when I started this piece, I really wanted to limit my color palette. And I wanted to focus on two of my favorite colors, which is this kind of beautiful sky blue, and then a little bit of the purples. And then some more detailed work with some alcohol ink markers, which is something that I've incorporated a little bit differently, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But it is bedtime. It is a dreamscape. It is kind of when I came up with going into this theme of It Is Written and talking about words, I thought bedtime.
Bedtime stories. And a lot of time bedtime stories are fantastical and just like dreams and things like that. And it has such I don't think people picture bedtime without like this idea of like getting into your comfortable bed, and it's a story of like telling a story. And then dreams are just narratives that your brain makes up with the language of your life.
Absolutely.
And so there's something very beautiful about that. For you, this is positively huge because you usually are working like 4x4, 6x6, 5x7. So can you tell us about how, and also even like the like different techniques that you've used on this? You still have the like macro littles, but look how big these bubbles are. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I have been incorporating a little bit more larger, getting a little more expansive, working actually on larger surfaces. When you're working with alcohol inks, you have to work on a flat surface, or I work on a flat surface to control the flow. And I've been using larger pieces of Yocom paper in square form. So this is a 12 by 12 square, and working on white butcher paper is also really helpful.
That's interesting.
To just really like let it flow out.
So you can go end to end.
Yes, yeah. I can go way out of the end to end, and I can expand onto the paper. So I have been just experimenting with getting larger and larger in bits and pieces, and finally, I've done some larger, but this one is a very comfortable feel for me. And then I really enjoyed having a more expansive, 20 by 20 overall feel, and let it just kind of breathe a little bit.
Your work is highly narrative generally, but like I would say like it's always based on a quote or a verse or like a passage from a book or the Bible or something, and but also you incorporate a story as your like, because part of doing alcohol ink is about codifying these like abstractions that you make.
Exactly.
And so what I find very interesting in this is that it's allowing you even more space. You've always incorporated mark making to codify like the piece, but you've made almost these little creatures down here, and so it's making it even more narrative than you already were. How did you think about that?
So when I was working on this, generally I like to mark make over the alcohol inks. Sometimes the piece can work in and of itself. If there's enough abstract, if there's enough interest, if there's enough oomph to the piece. But this piece, when I finished it, I still felt like there was some mark making that needed to happen, especially in the lower portion of the piece.
Yeah, which almost feels like a wave or a cloud, or so these could be birds, these could be little sea creatures, but it does feel like a sky over these other things.
Exactly. I kind of pictured it almost like a wave or a beachy, very abstract. Who doesn't like a purple beach, right? I mean, there are pink sands out there in Bermuda, so I take a little artistic license. And then these little creatures, I used alcohol ink markers, which I've never done before, that was kind of fun.
What's interesting is they're almost opaque.
They are.
Yeah.
Just like an alcohol ink.
Yes, but
Yeah.
you have so much translucency in so many of your pieces that it's interesting. This almost jumps off as a different medium. It almost feels mixed media, but it's still it's just incorporating even more techniques and devices into the medium you're working in, which I really like.
Yeah, I did like that, and I like the kind of water effect that kind of occurred. Some of the techniques you can use with alcohol inks, you can make them look very wave-like
Yeah.
and watery.
And
lots
you
of
use a heat tool, like
Yes.
and you get these beautiful concentrations where they both overlap and make edges, which I think lends it to the expansive sky and the sea feel, which I really like.
Yeah, it was a fun piece to work on.
So we were so excited, Carol and I were so excited when we were like, this is positively huge, we're taking this. And then when we saw the title, we were like, perfect, because, and I've said this in several of the videos, but this show was about showing has an expansive quality to it, because it is written, whether it's written down or not, people will say that when telling a legend, people will say that when talking about law, people will say that about blurbs and sound bites and all of these different ways, little letters that we use language, and we wanted to kind of encompass all of those things. And one of the things that's interesting about art is it is a language.
Yes.
So in and of itself, there's always a language that you're talking in with the artist, and so if you're doing a show that's about language, it's so nice to have it exist on a couple different levels. And so we're really glad that this is going to be in the show and representing a certain kind of storytelling. We're always so happy to have you, and we hope that you'll come see Nina's work at Powell Arts from now through October 29th. Thank you so much, Nina.
Thank you.